Goals, discipline, and friendship. How I ran a marathon in Japan. 3 years ago, if you told me I would run a full marathon in Japan, I wouldn't have believed you. I started work on the JET program overweight and out of shape, weighing 136 kilograms or 300 pounds. My goal entering the JET program was to be a good role model for my Japanese students. I wanted to be the ideal ALT, a traveler, an adventurer, healthy, fluent in a foreign language. I wanted to be brave. However, when I arrived in Japan, I lacked those qualities. I rarely exercised, my diet was poor, I spoke little Japanese, and I was intimidated by travel. Starting out. In February 2022, my JET placement, Kuroshio Town, hosted a 3-kilometer run, and I joined out of curiosity. It had been many years since I had attempted any distance running, and I wanted to gauge my ability. I jogged around my neighborhood a few afternoons to prepare for the event, but that wasn't enough. The day of the 3-kilometer run, I struggled. My lungs were on fire, my legs burned. I did manage to complete the event, but I needed to spend the rest of the day recovering. I was the slowest and least impressive runner. Regardless, my students saw me and cheered me on. I felt a warm glow from their encouragement. I was on the right track, ready to climb. In summer of 2022, my Kuroshio friends planned to hike Mount Fuji. I took a leap of faith and decided to join them. At that point, I had done a small hike in Kochi City, and the results were disastrous. It destroyed my legs and left me a sweaty mess. Mount Fuji is known for its difficulty and even poses a challenge to experienced hikers. To climb Mount Fuji, I needed to consistently train over the summer. I feared failing mid-ascent and having to climb back down. It was harsh, but that fear of failure was a good motivation. Together with my friend Alex, I strapped on a backpack full of 1-liter water bottles and hiked up and down the 8 flights of the local tsunami evacuation tower in the summer heat. This unorthodox training turned us into local legends in the community. Most importantly, combined with the alterations to my diet, the training worked to get me ready. I pulled myself into the final station. The next morning, we completed the ascent and were gifted with an unforgettable Fuji sunrise. It was a precious achievement. It was proof I could train my body and accomplish difficult physical feats. I could get stronger, healthier, and better. Further, farther, faster. I kept what I learned at Mount Fuji in mind, and my discipline continued to develop in early 2023. I started running up the tsunami tower almost every morning before work. Since I was overweight, I saw results quickly. After the first month of running and meal prepping, my Japanese coworkers noticed I was slimming down. After 3 months, comments about my weight loss came from everyone, and it was often the first thing people would say to me. Within 6 months, I was thinner and stronger. Acquaintances mistook me for a new person. 50 kilograms, or 110 pounds down, my parents didn't recognize me at the airport when I returned to visit in Canada, but they supported my training efforts. I graduated from the tsunami tower and began distance running, slowly building up my kilometers. First, I could run a 4-kilometer, then an 8, then a 10, and eventually I completed a half marathon. In October 2023, I set my sights on the Kochi-Ryoma Marathon and kept running. February 18th, 2024, the day of the marathon, I was nearly half the weight but twice the man. It was hard, but I had trained appropriately and was physically and mentally prepared for the difficulty. After running an intense 5.5 hours with my friend Timonique, we crossed the finish line together, finishing our first marathon. Perfect. I arrived in Japan wanting to be the perfect ALT, but my students will never have a perfect ALT. They have something better. They have an ALT who improved and continues to improve in small ways every day, and that's something they and everyone can do too. So there it is. The story ends, I guess, earlier this year after I ran the Kochi-Ryoma Marathon, but I would continue training throughout the summer, throughout the spring, the summer, and into the fall a little bit. And then in October of 2024, I completed the Shimanto River Ultramarathon, running a total of 60 kilometers. So pretty amazing story. In 2 years, I went from this 300-pound guy to running an ultra marathon, which is definitely a crazy story. It was a very gradual process. It wasn't like within 3 months I just immediately became this guy. It was putting in the work every day, waking up, working out, eating properly, doing that consistently. Not to pat myself on the back too much, but it's a really incredible story. Living in Japan and the AJET program has kind of afforded me this opportunity to change my diet and change my exercise and change my life. So, AJET program is awesome. That's all for now. Take care and be bold.